This is Arts This Week, your weekly download for arts and culture events in and around town. The Armenian Museum of America invites us in for some California dreamin'. The exhibition is called On the Edge and comes from collectors Joan, who is of Armenian descent, and the late Jack Quim. Throughout their marriage, the couple made art a core of who they were. They supported and befriended young up-and-coming artists who became very famous ones. People like Andy Warhol, David Hockney, and Jean-Michel Basquiat. Works by those artists and more fill the gallery. But the art also tells the story of how California artists adopted a maverick streak in the 1970s. They broke out of what was the norm in the art hotbeds of New York and Europe. Unlike artists in those places, the California artists played with light. Fortunately, they had friends and collectors like the Quins to fuel this innovation. By the way, if you want to go behind the scenes, check out a sketch of Joan Quin's jewelry-laden hands in the show. The story goes Basquiat was drawing Quin's hands while she was talking to Warhol, and just after she'd given some joints left at her home to the performer Divine. How's that for California cool? Fantasy and Truth is how artist Jordan Nassar looks at Palestine, and it's also aptly the name of a new exhibition of his work at the Institute of Contemporary Art. Nassar was born and raised American, but with a Palestinian father, he has struggled to reconcile his heritage. Palestinian blood runs through him, and yet he feels like an American outsider in the Middle East. So he answers that conflict one stitch at a time, creating massive landscapes by cross-stitching, an embroidery tradition woven deeply into Palestinian culture. The landscapes, he says, evoke both fantasy and truth, and how the Palestinian diaspora might think of a Palestine they've been unable to visit. Nassar doesn't do all of the cross-stitching himself, though. The more traditional patterns in his panels are done by the women of an embroidery collective in the West Bank. It's a process layered with meaning. The American going home to his people, a man performing a craft alongside women. This is a practice, after all, typically only performed by women in the Middle East. And it's artistic exchange. Maybe it's a new pattern for how we can all see the world. Reveries is the title of a show of paintings by artist Bill Shattuck at the New Bedford Whaling Museum. Reveries are dreams, and at first it seems like a curious title for a show of landscapes, because at first blush, they seem to be representations of the gorgeous southeastern Massachusetts coast. After a few seconds of looking, though, you see they're really actually mystical places. There are lush green trees and ground cover, placid waters. Peer further into the works, and you find an ethereal fog, the threshold into a more mystical realm. Other of Shattuck's paintings deliver us into a velvety night. Darkness can be foreboding, but his is magical, where spirits might carouse in the deepest night. And still other landscapes feature that magical light that comes with sunset, the kind that sets everything aglow as a final reward to a summer day best enjoyed. Shattuck paints what he knows. This is the land he has walked for decades. But he doesn't paint in nature, doesn't work from photographs. He makes sketches and then lets the memories marinate until he gets to work in the studio. Sing Street, a new production at the Huntington Theatre Company, is a place where hope thrives. Based on the 2016 independent film, the musical is set in Dublin, 1982. Times are tough and money is scarce. 17-year-old Connor watches as his parents struggle to make ends meet. It also means he has to transfer schools. But then he meets Rafina, a gorgeous girl. To woo her, he wants to cast her in a music video. But that means he has to form a band to make a music video. So enter hope. Connor and his new bandmates launch into their own musical vibe. It's the 1980s, so think Duran Duran, Depeche Mode, and The Cure. The music they're writing and performing, they quickly find out, is lifting them out of their dire circumstances. They realize there's a whole future ahead of them, and it's theirs for the taking. Another element that really struck me is the way Tony-winning director Rebecca Teichman deftly guides us back to Connor's family and the tender bond he has with his two siblings. They hold together when nothing else does. Their relationship is filled with heart, it's real and palpable. Sing Street does sing for its storytelling, for a truly exceptional cast of young actors, and for its spirit. The show, by the way, was supposed to open on Broadway until COVID interrupted those plans. My guess is that it's still very much Broadway bound, at least it should be, I think. So this is your chance to watch this meaningful new musical take flight. What I'm looking forward to next week, the long-awaited movie sequel Hocus Pocus 2 is about to be released, and the Peabody Essex Museum in Salem is restoring its historic Ropes Mansion, which was one of the filming locations in the original Hocus Pocus, to its bewitching look in the film. Thanks for joining me. I'll see you here and at the Ropes Mansion next week.